Welcome all, listeners and gentle beings. This is PC Planet bringing you the greatest news that we are able to find within the hour and a half prior to starting this podcast.
Yes, indeed. And speaking of news, we got Tuesday coming up, the 22nd of February, Tuesday, 2022. Make sure
Hey.
you get two tacos on Tuesday, the 22nd of February, 2022. We got a couple stories, actually a few stories today. Intel Arc desktop GPUs, I know we talked about them before. We still don't really have official performance targets, but I would assume probably 3060, 3070 levels of performance based on what we've seen so far. Intel is saying about 4 million plus uh, desktop GPUs coming in quarter two. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to make a huge dent in the market because AMD and NVIDIA sold about 47 million desktop GPUs alone in 2021.
Yeah, this is true, but you know how those scalpers are. So we sold 47 million desktop GPUs, but only like 5 people bought
That's true.
them.
That's true. Uh,
To be
scalpers.
fair, to be fair, that is also before the 47 million is also before they counted laptop GPUs.
Yeah, that's true. And Intel's saying 4 million GPUs across laptop, desktop, and workstation.
Yeah, it really kind of sucks because they were all Intel was all like, "Oh, we're gonna put a GPU in every person's hand by the end of 2022, yada yada yada," and then they switched their story, and now it's like, "Oh, you only get 4 million. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry."
I mean, don't get me wrong, like more options is always better, but in 2022, Intel's not going to make a dent.
I am concerned though. I am concerned even with the 4 million because every time Intel has tried to break out of their CPU only manufacturing process, they have bombed hard. Every single time Intel has tried to enter a new market, they have bombed super hard. So it'll be really interesting to see if they actually went the way of AMD and got innovative this time. Yes, I am an AMD shill. I always have been. That's fine.
You're an AMD shill unless it comes to GPUs.
This is true. This is true. AMD's GPU support for drivers and such has consistently been lacking. And I've always tended to get better overclocking performance off of NVIDIA.
That's fair. Um, Intel also shared some rough timelines for their next architectures for 2023 and beyond.
Ew.
Battle Mage coming out in 2023 and 2024, and
And
Celestial coming out in
Celestial.
2024.
Yes.
I
It'll
like,
be interesting to see where AMD is going to go in this direction.
yeah, I like
You know
that.
what?
I like
Actually,
that name, Battle Mage.
right? I'm going to look this up. AMD 2024. Wow, I went way in the future. Threw an extra two in there. The year AMD Ryzen in the year 20,224.
Whoa, that's a little far forward. I think you went a little faster than 88 miles an hour.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, looking up this article for AMD in 2024, and I am getting a very non-answer.
Sounds about right.
AMD Zen 5 APU, codenamed Strix Point. Get this, 3 nanometer.
3 nanometer. Okay.
Really kind of wondering how they're getting past the quantum tunneling effect past 5 nanometer.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really interesting to see how they're doing that. Now,
For those who don't know, quantum tunneling is a processor is basically a series of gates. And these gates are, electrons pass through these gates, and that's, the in a very very basic terms how a processor works. Quantum tunneling occurs when the gates are so small that an electron can pass through a closed gate. It basically just like teleports to the other side. So when you get down past 5 nanometer, you start having to worry about quantum tunneling. And considering they're talking about 3 nanometer, I'm really genuinely curious how they're kind of handling that.
Yeah. I think it's important to remember too is that 3 nanometer may not necessarily mean actually 3 nanometer.
This is true. This is true.
I mean, we've had Intel that was on 14 nanometer plus for a million years.
Dude, for real. Got a Zen 5 APU Strix Point, belongs to Ryzen 8000 series.
Ryzen 8000.
Yeah.
Well, we don't even have 6,000 yet. I think we need to get to 6 and 7 before we get 8.
Well, the Ryzen 7000 Raphael CPUs are on the horizon, it looks like. New AMD Strix Point APUs would drop in 2024, powered by ARM Big Little inspired design, with 8 large Zen 5 cores and 4 smaller cores. We don't know what those smaller cores will be. We could expect a desktop-focused Zen 5 powered family of CPUs to launch before the APUs, but we've got Zen 4 to enjoy before now and then. That was
Nice.
not a full article; it was more of a little blurb. But the next gen Zen 5 APUs are reportedly codenamed Strix Point, with no affiliation to ASUS, which will be made on TSMC's new 5 nanometer process and rock next gen DDR5 memory support.
Yeah,
So there you go.
there you go. I guess if you're looking to build a new AMD rig, you might as well just wait for that.
Dude, uh, honestly, I don't even know because it's like as soon as like I got the Ryzen 7 5800X, and as soon as I got the 5800X, AMD's talking about the 6 and 7,000 CPU. So it's like, when do you wait? You know, when is the decision to wait? Come into play? Because uh, I mean, to be fair, way back in the day, I had a Ryzen, or not a Ryzen, Jesus Christ. I had a AMD FX 8320E Black Edition, the old bulldozer CPUs,
Hey, I
and
had one of those.
yeah, they're, by the way, really great for if the heating goes out in your house. Just run Crysis for a little bit, you'll be fine, nice and toasty. Um,
Crisis won't run, but the heat will.
to be fair, I hit about 27 FPS on Crysis with that CPU. I'm not going to mention my
Okay.
GPU because honestly, I don't remember. Um, but no, I mean, I ran that CPU until what was it, 2019, and I was still hitting 45 FPS on Doom 2016, running at 1080p. So it's like, do you buy a 3700X or 5800X and then just run that for years? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, when do you decide to wait? Because it's like every time you get something, they're already working on the new thing.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously going to depend on the person. Are you the kind of person that always has to have the absolute latest and the greatest? I'm not. I rocked two GTX 760s in SLI for like a million years until the 10 series came out, and then I grabbed a 1060. I didn't go grab a 1070 or 1080.
Yeah.
I just grabbed a 1060 6 gig, not 3 gig. But yeah, I was rocking two GTX 760s with 2 gigs of VRAM for years.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like, I got the 5800X. Honestly, with the 5800X I have, I'm probably not going to upgrade for another 3 or 4 years, personally.
Yeah, on my 5600X, if I were to upgrade, it would probably be more of a side grade to a 5800X just for the extra 2 cores and 4 threads. But honestly, I just don't see any reason to upgrade past that for right now.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, a freaking dude, okay, if anyone here plays Ark Survival Evolved, you'll know how taxing that game can be. Like, I'm running a 3070 and a 5800X at 1440p, and I average between 60 and 70 FPS. So like my 144 hertz panel isn't even being pushed to halfway. to its maximum potential. But 60 to 70 FPS is 400% more than playable.
Oh,
And
sure.
so far, even running Cyberpunk 2077 with every single setting cranked to max without DLSS, I still get 50 to 55 FPS. And honestly, consider, at least for me personally, considering most of the games I play, aside from Ark and the occasional Cyberpunk and some MMOs, are like Skyrim with mods and running some old school Quake or maybe running some Need for Speed. It's like so far they have not released a game that is unplayable on my system. So why upgrade? Why I don't need a 3090. I don't need a 4090, a 5090 or whatever they're coming out with next. The system
3090
I have,
Ti.
third moving on from that, in the immortal words of Jay's 2 cents, we digress. Yeah, the 3090 story has been all over the place. It's absolutely ridiculous. You have millions of customers, NVIDIA customers, who have been trying to get their hands on a 3080, and NVIDIA's like, hey, let's slow down manufacturing on the 3080 and make the more expensive 3090 Ti because fuck you. That's why.
In the immortal words of everybody on the internet, nobody cares.
Yeah. Which again rolls me back to what I was saying initially. This 3070, so far they have not released a game that won't run on a 3070. Why do we need a 3090 Ti? It's literally gotten to the point where the GPU manufacturers, Nvidia, AMD, and maybe Intel, we'll see, their GPU performance has surpassed the requirements.
I could see a 3090 Ti being useful for rendering.
See, I'm talking about the average gaming user. I'm
Yeah,
talking about the people that have spent so long waiting for a 3080. Because those people, they're not trying to get a 3080 for rendering. They're wanting to game.
yeah. No, absolutely. The reality is that there are infinitely more people that just want to play freaking games than want to render, 8K scenes in Blender.
Over half of these people waiting for the 3080 are part of that group that sold their RTX 20 series when the 3000 series launched because they were like, "Oh my god, a 3070 is 2080 performance for $500. I'm going to sell my 2080 Ti and grab a 3070." And they're still trying to get their hands on a graphics card. Because if you have the money to scalp, you're not going to be if you have the money to scalp, you're not going to be the kind of person to sell your 20 series card before the 30 series comes out.
No.
You know, the people that sold their 20 series card right before the 30 series came out, those are the people that don't have a whole lot of money and were really hoping to use that 2080 money to upgrade to a 3070 or a 3080 or such and such and such and such. And these are the average user, the average gamer. And now that Nvidia is saying, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and slow down production on 3080 and focus more on this rendering, enterprise card, the 3090 Ti. It's the 3080 people are like, okay, guess I'll just go fuck myself then.
Yeah, totally. I
Our
yeah.
podcast has been so demonetized by YouTube.
Well, good thing we're sponsored by the like button, so hit the fucking like button.
Yeah. Oh man. Moving on. All right, what's
Moving
up next,
on.
Drew?
What is up next? We've got PC as in personal computer related. Uh the Apple M2 Max coming out fairly soon probably. We got performance projections that are showing it to sail right past the i9 12900 HK in multi-core. and RTX 3070 levels of graphics performance minus ray tracing, of course.
Here's my thought on that performance comparison. Uh,
It's not very useful.
I'm gonna put myself in the shoes of Apple. Okay, we got this new CPU. It's amazing. It's an M2 chip. We're gonna run some testing on it, but we want to get the best results we possibly can. So we're not gonna put it in a MacBook chassis. We're gonna run it on like an open air test bench or something like that. So you get these performance marks, but then you slam that CPU into a nice, sleek, thin little MacBook with minimal cooling capability. I work in IT. I cannot tell you how many people I've had come in being like, "Hey, my MacBook's getting really hot." Well, it's slim. It's slim and sexy.
That's what happens when you put a fan on the opposite freaking side of the thing as the
Dude,
processor.
Apple had that freaking thing where their MacBooks, the what was it, the unibody construction, where the heat coming out the back of the CPU, coming out the back of the system, was actually softening the adhesive on the base of the LCD screen and was causing it to separate.
Yep, I've got a 2016 MacBook Pro sitting right over there that has that exact problem.
It's like we get that you want to make things nice, sleek, and smooth, but you have to offer adequate cooling to the system because you could have a freaking, you know, M2 chip with the performance of a 12900K, yada 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 yada. But you put it in a system like that, and you undervolt it because you know Apple straight out the gate they undervolt their CPUs so they won't overheat, and they still overheat. So it's like, okay, you got this 12900K CPU, level CPU, but you're only getting the performance of like a 10,000 series because they have to slow it down and undervolt it so it doesn't overheat the system.
Yeah, that's true. I will give them credit though for the 16-inch Mac Pro with the M1 Max. If I remember correctly, watching Linus Tech Tips review or testing of that, the 16-inch does not thermal throttle. The 14-inch, however, does.
Had to be somewhere.
Of course. But to be honest, if you're going for an M1 Max, get the 16-inch anyway.
Yeah, this is true.
I don't
unless
think it
you're
belongs in a 14-inch.
unless you're enterprise, in which case you buy a bunch of 14 inches because they're cheaper.
That's true. Not by much, but they are cheaper.
Yeah, and then you spend the next 2 years contacting Apple Care because
Of course. Of course. And I guess the M2 is expected to use TSMC's 4 nanometer process node.
again, I'm curious to see how they're getting past the whole quantum tunneling effect.
Yeah, it looks like you are quantum tunneling at the moment. What else do we have here? The 2022 Razer Blade 14. Speaking of 14-inch laptops, we got
This
a
thing is a
Ryzen
beast
9 6900HX.
with DDR5 4800 megahertz memory.
Woo!
Which
That
okay, honestly, as awesome as that is, what's the point of having DDR5 4800 megahertz memory in a laptop?
I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
And
Especially if you're going to hamper it with a 3066 gig.
what kind of makes me chuckle a little bit? Let me go ahead and share my screen real fast. You see that? That literally is the exact same cooling setup that I have seen on every single Dell laptop I've worked on.
It also kind
So
of looks like a MacBook.
yeah, exactly. It honestly, it really does. It really does. Like we don't see. I mean, maybe they're under this plate at the bottom, at the base, by the touchpad. But we don't see any M.2 drives. We don't see I don't know, maybe that could be a network card right there on,
What
the
is
right
this
side underneath the fan, but
vapor chamber liquid cooling? Uh, try a heatsink.
that's literally a heatsink. That's literally how you could get a Wraith Prism and it's vapor chamber liquid cooling. That's literally how a heatsink works.
Oh boy.
So, I mean, maybe the fins are more tightly packed together. I don't know. I don't know. It honestly, the ultra efficient vapor chamber liquid cooling, honestly, it sounds like a marketing gimmick. It honestly sounds
It's
like a marketing gimmick.
absolutely a marketing gimmick. Um, what is not though is they finally put a decent camera in there, 1080p, and supports facial recognition for Windows Hello. So that's pretty cool. And THX spatial audio, which I've actually had in a main gear laptop that's Micro Center's brand. Uh, and it works. It's really cool. It takes the two speakers that are built into the laptop and gives you virtual 7.1 channel surround sound, and it actually sounds great.
Something I just noticed. Available NVIDIA GeForce RTX Ti graphics, right? Let me scroll down.
Sports AMD FreeSync
Yeah, so it's like, okay, why would you not put a G-Sync panel on a system
because
with an NVIDIA card?
because you wouldn't be able to use it with the onboard graphics of the 6900HX.
But you wouldn't be using the 6900HX. You would be using the onboard integrated GPU or is it really a discrete GPU if it's in a laptop?
Yeah, because the 6900HX will have its own iGPU, and then they'll have the RTX 30 series on an entirely separate chip. And
What do you
you
think?
can use,
FreeSync Premium with compatibility for G-Sync?
yeah, you can use FreeSync panels on NVIDIA cards.
Yeah, I knew you could do that with like full blown monitors. I'm just wondering. I just find it odd that they're advertising AMD FreeSync Premium with a system that has an NVIDIA, you know, a because obviously the NVIDIA card in the system is going to perform better than the 6900HX APU.
Oh, well, of course, that's why they're including it.
Right. So why would they advertise AMD FreeSync Premium on a system that has a focus on NVIDIA?
I don't know. I I'm glad you noticed that because I noticed that earlier and I was like, wait a second. I mean, yes, I know you can use FreeSync panels on an NVIDIA card and it is natively supported, and I guess that's fine. You don't really need G-Sync if you have a FreeSync panel, but it's just, yeah, it is kind of a weird, it's kind of confusing.
Well, the fact of the matter is, G-Sync is a hardware capability, whereas FreeSync is a software capability. That's why G-Sync monitors are so much more expensive because there are extra hardware components that are placed inside the system.
That's true. You got, yeah, I think G-Sync is run by effectively just a full-blown ARM chip, an ARM SoC.
I don't know. If I'm dropping 4 grand on a laptop, I don't know. I don't know. It's just it seems iffy to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a badass machine, but I don't know. Their marketing seems a little odd.
Yeah. Speaking of odd marketing, uh, we've got the final kind of major news piece here. We got Gigabyte revealing the first PCIe Gen 5 compatible power supply, which uses a new power delivery standard for PCIe cards called 12 VHPWR. Probably stands for 12-volt high power because it can deliver 600 freaking watts to the card. They are using four different naming terms for the same thing. They're calling it 12 VHPWR. They're calling it PCIe Gen 5 cable. They're also calling it 12 plus 4 pin cable. And they're also calling it 16 pin cable. all in the same marketing material.
16 pin. Well, that's a dual 8 pin.
Or it's 12 plus 4 pin, because it's apparently 12 pins of power and 4 pins of data.
That doesn't make any sense to me. That's odd. Well,
Yes.
regardless, hopefully these new PSUs don't have the same zapping capacity that the other ones did.
Yeah, hopefully they don't explode.
Wait, is that hang on. Okay. So here, I'm gonna share my screen again. Okay. So we're on the UD 1000 GM, right?
Yep.
This is their latest and greatest, okay? Let me move over here. Why are they advertising a Molex connector? Why?
I like how they actually advertise that it has floppy disk power.
Yeah, like here's PCIe Gen 5 capacity, and also a Molex cable for a floppy drive, if you want it, you know.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there's other peripherals that do use Molex power connectors and floppy power connectors, but that's really hilarious that they actually call it the floppy connector.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, why? Like, I literally, I don't, is there even a market for floppy disks anymore?
I don't know. I mean, cases, a lot of modern cases don't even have CD DVD drive slots anymore.
Yeah, I have one rig. I have one rig that has a CD drive, and it doesn't even have a floppy drive. It just has a CD drive, and it is the PC that 17-year-old me would have killed to have. Like, it's got a like an Intel oh man, what is it? Intel quad core extreme CPU with like a EVGA NVIDIA 9800 GTX graphics card,
Nice.
and that thing takes four 200 millimeter fans or five 200 millimeter fans, and those use Molex. But again, that's like my dream rig from like 2007, 2008. I'm genuinely curious why they're advertising this for their newest power supply. It's interesting. Look at that. It's even look at this. They even have it like emblazoned on the power supply itself.
Peripheral,
Peripheral
IDE, SATA, Molex.
Molex. Molex. Why?
I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing.
But that makes me want to build a machine with one of these with a floppy drive.
I'll be honest, it kind of does for me too. In fact, like I said, in that rig, I might actually get a floppy drive just for that. Gonna load up some gonna load up some original Quake.
Yeah.
I mean,
Windows 3.1.
to be fair, the system that is the system that I'm referring to is running a 32-bit version of Windows XP. So
But if you're going to put a floppy drive in it, you better install Windows 3.1.
I would if I had the capacity to make that machine a dual boot, which I currently don't. Working on it, but I currently don't.
Well, maybe we can handle that in the future.
Hey, who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll do a live stream of it or something. Windows 3.1 on a Dream Rig from 2008.
That would be incredible.
Because why not?
Sure.
I'm
Um,
really, I'm really happy with that rig though. It's running on a Thermaltake Chaser Mark One case,
oh,
which is a monster of a case. It is not a mid tower. It is not a small form factor. It is a full tower case. This thing is like, bam.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
got
big case.
it's got feet. It's got feet that you flip out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's got actual feet.
Yeah. And one of my favorite features about it, and this is kind of dumb, but it's one of my favorite features, is it has a external SATA tray. So I can literally take a hard drive and drop it in flash drive style
Yes.
into the top of the case. Yes.
Yes.
And the side of the case even has a little flip down, like little hanger thing for headphones.
Yeah, that's ultimate late 2000s like
Oh yeah.
gamer.
Let me. You know what? You know what? You know what? Let me.
Oh, we're gonna actually look at it.
Oh hell yeah.
Well, not actually it, but oh yeah,
Yeah. The little thing on the side there. That is a headphone stand. And there's the SATA tray.
incredible.
Look at all those drive bays.
Oh yeah.
One, two, three, four, five, six drive bays. And like I said, five 200 millimeter fans. Yeah,
See, yeah,
this this thing is a monster.
that's something that I would have killed to have when I was in high school.
Oh yeah. In fact, if any of you listeners watch LGR, he actually did a Dream 2007-ish build, and that's kind of where I got the inspiration. Well, not kind of. This is 100% where I got the inspiration to do this. Um, he was using a different case, uh, but yeah, pricing this rig out in 2007, 2008, if I had been able to build this back then, I would have dropped about $3,000 to $4,000 to build this rig back in the day.
That's about how much you'd spend on a dream rig today.
Yep. And these days, I picked up all the parts for less than 200 bucks. What I really want to get though, what I really want to get though, so I haven't had a chance to get this yet, is the Black Widow Thermal Take Spin Q CPU cooler.
Ooh.
Yeah. Look at that. Look at that.
See, why can things not be designed like that anymore? Like that's
Then you have
great.
the SpinQ VT.
Oh, the vertical tower version.
Yeah. See, I love the systems we have today, but I'll be honest, something has got lost over the years.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely and one of my absolute favorite YouTubers right now, Cathode Ray Dude, he put it so perfectly. You know, we've flown so far from the light. You know, we everything used to be made to be ridiculous because we thought it had to be, but we've just become so just competent and complacent and boring. And
I
just
mean, look at that.
nothing, we
Look at
just
that. The
don't do anything cool anymore.
look at that. The thermal take V1AX. Look at that.
See, it looks absolutely ridiculous and I love it.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, holy crap. Like what? Like I don't know. I love computers. I love the way systems are these days. I love the way technology has come. But let's be honest, a lot of the systems out there just look cookie cutter.
Yeah,
Like your
everything's just
system,
like the same.
yeah, everything has transparent side panels. Everything has RGB fans. Everything has an RGB AIO. Everything has RGB memory. And don't get me wrong, I love RGB. I'm a shill for RGB. Uh, but I don't know. There's definitely something to be said for the old school ways.
Definitely.
Anyways, That's my 2 cents. Not Jay's. Jay's can have his 2 cents. That's my 2 cents.
I like that.
Man, these
What I don't like,
cats.
however, is Windows 11 Pro going to
Ugh.
require an internet connection during initial setup. And even if you're setting up the PC for personal use, you are going to need a Microsoft account.
It kind of sounds like freaking imaging a system at work.
And also, like, what if I want to make a sandboxed VM that runs Windows 11 Pro?
You better have a Microsoft account.
I guess I got to create a bunch of fake Microsoft accounts. Why?
Because reasons.
There's reasons that I will never understand. But should I come to understand them, they will be reasons that you, the listener, will understand should you hit that like button.
Hit like, hit subscribe, all that good stuff.
I think that is all I have on my list for this week.
I have one last thing I'd like to bring up, and that was something I
Let's do
heard
it.
earlier today. The Samsung PM1743 is a PCIe 5.0 SSD. It is running on the uh, EDSFF form factor, which is a enterprise server form factor, but it is running PCIe 5.0 with read speeds up to 13,000 megabits per second. And its write speed is rated at 6,600 megabits per second, which is about 2,000 megahertz. Oh my god, 2,000 megabits per second faster than a PCIe Gen 3 Samsung 860 Evo.
Yeah, that's crazy fast. I'm also pretty sure we're talking megabytes,
Oh yeah, yep. I'll
which
be
is
honest.
even faster.
I'll be honest. I really want to get like 4 of these and throw them in a RAID 0 because reasons.
And then when one of them eventually dies, bye bye.
Yeah, it'll be fun while it lasts. And to be fair, they are advertising these, like I said, with the EDSFFF, which is Enterprise and Data Center Standard Form Factor, uh, setup. So as far as like when they die, I don't know because if they had a propensity for dying quickly, like a lot of SSDs do, I don't think they would be advertising them to enterprise and data centers.
That is very true. And to be honest, I didn't even know this form factor existed until just today.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, same here. Because we looked up the PM 1743 and we were looking at that interface plug and we're like, what the fuck is that? That's not SATA. It's not M.2. What is that? And that's when we found out it is EDSFF.
EDSFF. F in the chat.
EDSFF offers a dynamic range of form factors that have advantages versus the incumbent SSD form factors in capacity, scalability, performance, serviceability, manageability, thermal, and power management. Today, all of the EDSF family of form factors share the same protocol, NVMe, same interface, PCIe, same edge connector, SFF-TA-1002, same pinout and functions as FF-TA-1009. Infrastructure, especially test infrastructure, can be developed to support multiple EDSF form factors. Interesting. Did not know
Yeah,
that was a thing.
interesting stuff. I'm sure we're going to see something about that on Serve the Home pretty soon.
I'm hoping so because that would be dope. Although it does kind of bring a question of what kind of heat would be put out because the article I'm reading here, there are options for 4 or 8 lanes of PCIe while fitting vertically in a 1U chassis to allow for scalable bandwidth per drive, as well as options for 9.5 or 18 millimeter heat sinks for various power and thermal environments, 25 to 40 watt respectively. Whoa, they're designed to
Wow.
be hot plugged.
Hot plugged.
Interesting. Okay. See, so I guess if you're running in like a RAID 1 setup, you can just gank one and pop in another without shutting down the system. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, back when I ran a server at a data center, we had hot plug drives, and we were running RAID 5 or RAID 6. I think it was RAID 5. And yeah, we'd had a drive go down. I'd go to Micro Center, buy a new drive to the data center, take out the old drive, plunk the new one in, rebuild the array, good to go.
Nice. Well, I think that about covers it for today. Was there anything else you wanted to go over, Drew?
Yeah, only that today's episode has been sponsored by the like button. So if you like what you see and hear here, uh, say here, and hit that like button and hit the subscribe button as well.
Huzzah! And the aforementioned like button is brought to you by Southern Colorado Computer Enthusiasts. We are a Facebook group dedicated to fair pricing, anti scalping, and general friendliness. So if you happen to be in the Colorado area, look us up on Facebook, Southern Colorado Computer Enthusiasts, and hit that join button.
And if you cannot find us on Facebook, you can just go to sscetech.net. Sorry, sccetech.net/Facebook. It'll take you right to it.